All right, how about this one? Zigzag conversion. The string PayPal-ish ring is written in a zigzag pattern on a given number of rows like this. So we have PayPal-ish ring, and then it's kind of written in a way that it goes down and then up to the right and then down and then up to the right. Okay, makes sense. So it's like a backwards M, sort of. And then read line by line. Write the code that will take a string and make this conversion into given a number of rows. So we need to take the string and then read it so that it's more like this, going PAHN. All right, sounds good. So what do we do for a strategy here? The first thought is to make each would-be row into its own string. And then at the end, just stitch all the strings together. And then all you have to do is go up and down between the row number, going 0, 1, 2. If there's four rows, for example, going 0, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 0, and so on. So if there's four rows, you got you'd be adding. You go okay, add to row 1, then 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 2, then 1, then 0, and then back again. Simple enough. So my thought is that we really only had to do one pass through, and we just had to assign each letter to a certain string. First of all, let's make that string. Let's call it I don't know, row strings. And we're going to use a quick one-line way of making a bunch of empty strings. We're going to do that for blank in num range num rows. Okay, so this is a quick way that we can make an array that is full of empty strings. It's the number of empty strings that we have the number of rows. The idea being that each string represents a row, and then we can just stitch them together at the end. Okay, so yeah, makes sense. So next thought is we're going to want to iterate through every character in the array. Just take it one at a time. So we're going to go for char in S. All right. Now here's the thing. We're going to want to, as we can see by this pattern right here, we want to increase the row number and then decrease it and then increase it, sort of bouncing back and forth between 0 and 3. 3 being the number of rows minus 1. So what we could do is just increment and then decrement the current row based on a toggle. So we could just establish a variable as either being 1 or -1, depending on which direction we're going in. If we're going down in the would-be zigzag, then we'd be increasing the row number. And if we're going up, then we'd be decreasing it. So how about we just say direction equals 1. And then we'll start with current row equals 0. Okay. So then we're going to say row strings current row. And we're going to stitch on the current character in the string. Simple as that. Okay, so this takes the P, and so for example, this takes the P and it puts it in the first row. All right. And then we just need to update the current row. But we need to make sure, that we're incrementing the row when we're going down, and then we're decrementing the row when we're going up. So we can do that by flipping the direction when we hit the top or the bottom. First, we can just add it. So let's say current row plus equals direction. So the current row starts at 0. We add the first character to the first string, and then we add 1 to the current row. So then the next time we pass over, we'll be adding to the first row. Now we just have to worry about when we flip that. So we want to flip it when we either are at 0 and we can't go any lower, or when we're at the number of rows minus 1, because remember it's 0 indexed, so the number of rows will be out of bounds. So we'll say if current row equals 0, then we'll say direction equals 1. So now that we've reached 0, we want to go back. And then the same way around. If current row equals num rows minus 1, direction equals minus 1. So once we reach the max that we can go, then we want to start ticking back down. Well, we can actually just turn this into one condition. Because since we're just flipping back and forth between 1 and -1, what if instead we said or current row equals number of rows minus 1. You multiply it by -1. So it's sort of a toggle that flips back and forth between positive and negative. Makes sense? Now, we just have to stitch them together, because that'll just iterate through all the characters, put them into their respective rows. Now we just need to put them together. So let's make an empty string called result, and then for every string in our array, in row strings, result plus equals string, and then return the result. Well, that should work, but there's one condition we have to worry about, which is the silly little edge case that's included down here. 1 is less than or equal to num rows is less than or equal to 1,000. So this code does not include what happens if it's only one row. Because as you can see, we iterate through it, and then we add 1 to the direction, so we'd already be out of bounds. So we don't need to do that. Here's what it's a extraneous enough edge case that we can just give it its own quick check, especially when it's a very brief check. We're just going to say if num rows equals 1, then return S. Yeah, because if it's only one row, then it'll be the same. Yeah. Okay, let's run it. Okay, it worked for those 3 test cases. Now let's run it for the whole thing. Awesome. All right, beats about half the people. That's pretty good in terms of memory. I'll take it. Happy with that. All right, that is problem. That's problem 6 done. Zigzag conversion. Sort of definitely a more whimsical problem. I enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.